Hi everyone, Petrik here. So for today's video, I'll be talking about all the books that I actually finished in the month of July and also the month of August. Yeah, I haven't made a video talking about all the books that I finished in the month of July. So there's a reason behind this. It's because, well, I think many of you will know that I have read only a little number of books the past 2 months. To be specific, I have read only, well, shockingly, 5 novels in the past 2 months. So there are plenty of reasons behind this, and I will talk about them as I proceed to talk about the books that I finished in the past 2 months. But one thing that I want to mention first, I'm really glad and I'm super happy that I finally found a new 5 stars fantasy novel, a new fantasy novel that I'm reading for the first time, finally with a 5-star rating within this year, the first one. And I think if you have been following my YouTube channel, you know which book I'm talking about, and I will talk about it later again in today's video. And yeah, so that pleases me. But in total, this year, I have actually only found 2 new 5 stars SFF novels in my reading experience this year, which is, well, to be frank, it is awful. It is awful. This kind of statistic is horrible. Usually people like to call me that Petrik give too many 5 stars. I want to be that guy again, the guy who keep on giving too many 5 stars, but unfortunately, I'm just not in that, well, I'm just not in that era anymore since 2024. I think since 2024 up to this month, I think I have rated a new book that I read for the first time with a 5-star rating. I think in total, probably 10 books. Yeah, it has been really bad, but that's also probably because of my circumstance and also the number of books that I have read. But anyway, enough of the introduction. Let's talk about the books that I finished in the month of July and also in the month of August. So let's start with the first 2 books. And these are the final 2 books, well, so far, the final 2 books in the Murderbot Diary series by Martha Wells. This is a Fugitive Telemetry and also System Collapse. So honestly, I have mixed experience when it comes to these 2 books, which is unfortunate because I love Network Effect so much. I think Network Effect is the best of the series so far, and it is so unfortunate that both Fugitive Telemetry and System Collapse cannot reach the height of Network Effect. So for Fugitive Telemetry, some comments have mentioned to me that I should read Fugitive Telemetry before I dive into Network Effect, and I finally understand why I should have followed that advice. And it is my thick-headed personality that tried to read this in publication order, because that usually worked the best for me. But in this case, I do think that it's better for you to read Fugitive Telemetry before actually reading Network Effect. So Fugitive Telemetry takes place after the events of Exit Strategy, which is the 4th novella or the 4th title in the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, but it takes place before the event of Network Effect. And in generally speaking, this is pretty much a noir or murder mystery Murderbot novella. And that might sound quite interesting, but I think this is actually an unpopular opinion because this book is very highly rated, but to me, this did not give me anything substantial. So it is actually what I just said. It is a murder mystery. Murderbot is the main character, but that's pretty much it. It did not add anything super substantial to the overall overarching story for me. So in a way, it really felt like filler. So that's really my biggest problem with Fugitive Telemetry. And it is a novella. Again, Network Effect is the first novel in the entire Murderbot Diary series, and I think the length and also the development of the characters and the world building, I think it adds a lot to my reading experience when it comes to Network Effect. So because of this, I was excited about System Collapse because System Collapse is the 2nd novel. Even though it is the 7th title in the Murderbot Diary series, but it is the 2nd novel. Yeah, the 2nd full-length novel in the Murderbot Diaries. But unfortunately, this is, I think it's safe to say that I did not enjoy this one as much as I hoped. And it is unfortunate, even though this one actually takes place after the events of Network Effect, but I do not think it adds a lot as well. I mean, most of it is actually diving deep into the psyche and characterizations of Murderbot, but I think some of the action scenes actually occurred, and also, well, they were overwritten in my opinion. So, and yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts regarding Fugitive Telemetry and also System Collapse. And I do hope that System Collapse is only like one of the unfortunate circumstances. I know that Murderbot Diaries is currently planned to be 10 books long, but I think it is time for Martha Wells to start proceeding for the series towards the finale, because I don't know how long Murderbot Diaries will actually be, but I think it is time for us to have a better sense of progression in the plotline. I still think that the overall series is actually really fun to read. It's like a comfort read, although I do think that the first season of the TV show adaptation is actually better than All Systems Red. I can't believe how much I love the first season of Murderbot TV show adaptation, and I'm super excited to see Art in the second season. So yeah, even though Art was actually present in System Collapse, that still did not give me as much enjoyment as I hoped, because most of the action scenes I did not feel the tension, I did not feel the stakes, and it's just pretty much Murderbot in actions for me. And the highlight of System Collapse was easily, well, Murderbot mental state. That's all I can say without diving deep into spoiler territory. So yeah, my thoughts regarding the Murderbot Diaries right now is a bit mixed. I enjoyed the first 4 titles, the novellas, but I highly loved Network Effect. I think it is actually one of my favorite titles of books that I read within this year so far. But speaking of favorite books, before I dive into, well, The Strength of the Few, I did a second read of The Will of the Many by James Islington, the first book in the Hierarchy series. And I think many of you know my full thoughts and also, well, my opinion regarding The Will of the Many. I consider this one of the best first book of a series that I have read. I think this is actually a masterpiece in epic fantasy. And of course, because it has been 2 years before I get a chance to actually read The Strength of the Few, well, I decided to do a second read of The Will of the Many, and I'm really glad that I did. There wasn't any detailed summary in The Strength of the Few, but I think even with a detailed summary, I don't think that would be enough for all the events that actually happened in The Strength of the Few. But before I talk about that, well, when it comes to my reread experience of The Will of the Many, well, many things makes more sense, and also, well, you know how it is with great epic fantasy or sci-fi novels or series. When you do a second read of that particular series, you receive somehow an experience that is as good as the first time you read through it, and with the additional information that you understand all the secret and also all the subtleties in the world building and also all the names and terminologies. Well, that's what I got from The Will of the Many, from the second read of The Will of the Many. And this is not a surprise. With the Lycaonius trilogy, it was the same as well. I know that many people like to think that the light of all that falls, missing information, and every criticism that I saw of that book is not actually about missing information, but it's about the readers not remembering the details that happened in the previous 2 books. And that's okay, because I got the privilege and also the fortune to actually binge read through the entire trilogy. If I had experienced the same thing, like I took a big break after the Echo of Things to Come and then read The Light of All That Falls immediately, I think I would have well, experienced the same thing. And because of that, I knew that I must do a second read of The Will of the Many before I dive into The Strength of the Few, and I'm really glad that I did. But when it comes to The Will of the Many, I still think that this is a masterpiece, as you can see from my quote here, which I still think one of my biggest achievements in my reviewing career. Yeah, this is still pretty cool, not gonna lie, with the cover art by Jamie Jones as well. And yeah, this is one of my favorite books of all time. And the same thing can also be said for the sequel, which is The Strength of the Few. I recently posted a full spoiler-free review of The Strength of the Few on my YouTube channel. Hey, a book review in like 8 months. Yeah, so that review, I made it as spoiler-free as possible. And if you haven't read The Will of the Many, I think it's still safe for you to actually watch that video review. But this is it. I had such high expectations for toward this novel, and I still think, as I said in my review, this is the final second book of a series I have ever read since The Words of Radiance, and also Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and also The Wall of Storms by Ken Yu. And yeah, it is that incredible. The world building has been upscaled so incredibly high, and my expectation toward this was, of course, insane because of how much I love The Will of the Many, and James Islington actually met them all. And in some cases, in some POV chapters, actually exceeded them. And yeah, I talk about this in full length, as spoiler free as possible, again in my video review, so I will not spoil you on this. But this, well, as you can probably tell, this is my 5 stars reading experience, my first 5 stars epic fantasy novel within this year, not counting reread, of course. And currently, it is my favorite book of the year. Well, I'm in the middle of reading Shadows Upon Time right now, so we'll see whether this one will be able to top the Shadows Upon Time, or Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Pinocchio will be able to top this one. But based on the year 2023, I remember that The Will of the Many was my favorite fantasy book of the year, and Demon in White by Christopher Pinocchio was my favorite sci-fi book of the year, together with Lightbringer by Chris Brown. So let's see whether that will be the case again, even though Red God by Chris Brown is not available within this year. But yeah, I love the strength of the view very much. It is again another masterpiece by James Islington, and that's not a surprise, even though I'm still quite amazed that so many people haven't read the Lycaenius trilogy yet, and I think that should be fixed, because yeah, you can already tell his talent in world building and plotting in the Lycaenius trilogy, and he just expanded upon them more in the Hierarchy series. So that's 4 books already. The 5th novel that I actually read is actually a much lighter novel in the month of August. So there was a reason behind this one, because of how much I loved The Strength of the Few. I was plunged into this massive book hangover, and I decided that I need to read a much shorter book, but also still a great one. So I thought it was the right time for me to dive into the only books that I haven't read from Joe Abercrombie, and it is the Shattered Sea trilogy. So I did my first time reading of Half a King by Joe Abercrombie, the first book in the Shattered Sea trilogy, and it is what many people consider to be a light first law trilogy. And well, I cannot blame them at all, because I do agree with them as well. This is still a great novel, and I think this is the kind of YA novel, YA fantasy novel that I would love to recommend to many readers who want to dive into reading a low epic fantasy for the first time. This book is only about 100,000 words long. It is very quick to read, and I think it contains some of Joe Abercrombie's talent in characterizations, iconic quotes, but it is done in a much lighter format here. That's really the easiest way to talk about it. The main character is Yarvi. He is disabled. His left hand pretty much he has only one finger on his thumb, and that's it. Because of this, he struggled with becoming the next king in the series. Well, okay, in the novel. I don't know about the remaining of the series, because I haven't read the Half the World and also Half a War yet. But I think it's still good. Of course, this is not as amazing as The Blade itself or the First Law trilogy, but for the first book of a series, and it worked as a standalone novel, I believe for the first book of a series, it is still pretty enjoyable. I still really enjoyed reading Half a King, and it is predictable. Not gonna lie, if you have read everything by Joe Abercrombie or even the First Law trilogy, this is a predictable novel compared to the First Law trilogy. But sometimes I do like, well, reading something that is good and also predictable, just to actually have a good time, have a fun time. And that's what I got from reading Half a King by Joe Abercrombie, even though some of you might actually think that how is everything that happened in this one can be considered a fun reading experience. But, well, it is what it is. I love reading Joe Abercrombie's dark stories, okay? And yeah, Yarvi is a great character. If there's anything that I would criticize from Half a King, is that there wasn't enough iconic supporting characters compared to Yarvi. Probably nothing. Sorry, nothing is actually the name of the supporting character in Half a King, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, the rest is kinda, well, they're not badly written or something, but they're not super memorable as well. I still will give Half a King actually a 4 stars rating based on how readable and also how compelling it is as a novel. But I have heard from many people that the second book, Half the World, is actually the best of the Shattered Sea trilogy, and I don't know, maybe I will actually read Half the World this month. But speaking of reading, that's pretty much all the novels that I actually finished in the past 2 months. Well, you might have noticed that I haven't actually posted any TBR videos, but I don't think it is actually a good or wise idea for me to post TBR videos for probably the rest of the year because of my circumstance with art direction and also book reviews, which I'm super behind right now. And also my first human baby. Choco is my first baby, okay? Choco boy. But yeah, my first human baby is about to be born probably, most likely, next month. And I think any TBR video will be a failure when it comes to actually reading the book. So that's why I haven't posted any TBR videos this month. But yeah, it is what it is. Well, many of you who watch my videos are parents, and I'm about to be parents to my, well, I'm about to become a father to my first human baby for the first time, and I think I want to focus my time on that. I do not want the pressure of actually pushing myself to read the books that I mentioned in my TBR videos, ruining that moment. I do not want that. At the end of the day, family and your loved ones will always have to be the priority, and I want to make sure that happens. But yeah, wow, that got a bit emotional. But yeah, after novels, I still managed to actually read 10 volumes of One Piece, 10 or 11 volumes of One Piece from volume 105 until pretty much the latest chapter. And yeah, that means for the first time, I finally read the Egghead Island. Yeah, and wow, I'm amazed. And seriously, I'm amazed for you. You know who you are with the profile picture of Roronoa Zoro. Well, you were right. Egghead Island is actually one of the best story arc in the entire One Piece story, and I got so emotional. I mean, I should have known Eiichiro Oda would have prepared something with this kind of emotional and devastating background, and still I wasn't prepared on how devastating it would be. But the entire storyline in the Egghead Island, wow, this is actually quite difficult to talk about as spoiler-free as possible. But the entire storyline in Egghead Island is just absolutely insane. And it is compelling in the best possible way because it's not as long. Because if you are a fan of One Piece, the last arc of the saga, of the particular saga, a specific saga in the One Piece many saga, well, that always contained the longest volumes and chapters. For example, the Wano Island story arc. Yeah, you know that one actually took many years for Eiichiro Oda to actually complete. But Egghead Island is the beginning of the final saga. So it is the first story arc in the final saga of One Piece. And it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. It revealed so many events and so many character background and connect everything that has been built since I don't know how many years ago. Like the character that actually revealed, that has their background actually revealed, this character has appeared for probably the first time probably 15 years ago. And this time, if I do a reread of One Piece, well, it will be an entirely different story because we learn so much about this character. I'm keeping things vague here, but if you have read One Piece up to the latest chapters, you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I love the Egghead Island so much. It is one of the greatest experiences I've read within this year, probably one of all time as well. And for the final manga set that I got to read, it is a new manga that I'm reading for the first time. It is Gachiakuta by Kei. And yeah, I love Gachiakuta. It is super stylish. The magic system is incredible. It is hard magic system. And I love everything about Gachiakuta, the art style. I know that Kei, the author, is actually a huge fan of Soul Eater manga by Kubo. And you can actually tell from the style, but I think Gachiakuta is even more stylish compared to Soul Eater. And yeah, I think this is about to become one of my favorite new manga series right now. I pretty much read the entire series of Gachiakuta in the past 2 months, and I'm caught up to the latest chapters already. So now I'm waiting with all the other readers for the next chapter, weekly or monthly. Is it weekly or monthly? But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it for all the books and manga series that I actually read in the month of July and also the month of August. So that's 5 novels and actually that 27 manga volumes. So yeah, that's not too bad. One of the reasons behind my slow reading right now, why I haven't actually finished reading Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Rocchio, is actually because of how much I spend my time in my very few free time to actually play Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And wow, it is one of the greatest games of all time, and I have been playing video games for almost 30 years now. Probably 30 years actually, but yeah, it has been a long time since I played a game, a Japanese RPG, even though this is made by French company, a Japanese RPG style game this good. It is utterly incredible in every possible way, and right now, well, I'm still thinking about all the songs and also the events that actually happen in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and that's pretty much why my reading quantity suffers a lot in the month of August. After I finished reading The Strength of the Few, I decided to actually focus my time, during my free time, to actually play Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I platinum that game already, and now I can focus on my reading, more. So yeah, my book of the month, of course, it doesn't need to be said. It is the only 5-star fantasy book that I got within this year so far, and that's The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I cannot wait to read the remaining 2 books in the series. And again, if you want to know my full thoughts regarding The Strength of the Few, you can check out my spoiler-free video about that book. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Again, I want to say thank you so much to all of you who keep on supporting my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel is now 5 years. I really need to make a post or a video about that. But this channel is now 5 years long, and I cannot thank you, all of you, enough for keep on supporting my YouTube channel to this day. Especially all of you who have been there since the beginning of this channel and also the beginning of my Goodreads reviews. Again, thank you so much. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today. Do let me know what you think about the books that I talk about today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye-bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.